In the meeting of our QVSD school board. As soon as everything's recording, if you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Is it being recorded yet?
Nope, it is. It should be. I see recording. What?
Yeah, it says it's recording up there, right?
No, it usually pops up here.
Nathan, are we recording?
Oh, here it probably wants me to do start recording.
Ah,
Yes.
there we go.
Yeah, start always is good.
Because this streaming. Sorry, everybody. Stream internally. Must be streaming because that looks like it's streaming, Nathan.
Nathan, wake up.
Sorry.
Nathan?
It usually- Okay, let me know. Do you see it now if I do it from this computer? Oh, there it goes.
All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, thank you all for coming. Those of you that have to be here, anyway, thanks for coming. Those of you that have nothing better to do in your lives, welcome to you too. All right. We need a motion to start things off to approve our meeting minutes from our regular meeting of March 25th, 2024.
I'll make a motion, we accept meeting minutes of the last board meeting.
All righty, are there any corrections or additions or changes? Not hearing any. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say no. Yeah, they are approved. We need a motion then to approve the meeting minutes of our special work session of March 25th, 2024.
I'll make a motion that we approve the special work session of March 25th, 2024.
Thanks.
I'll second.
All righty. Any corrections or additions to that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say no. Approved. Let's adopt tonight's agenda with a motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt tonight's agenda.
Second.
I'll second it.
Are there any additions to the agenda that we need to know about?
Yeah, we added under new business, the approval of Insight School of Washington K-8 calendar and high school calendar for the 2024-2025 school year.
All right. Any additional additions to be added? All right, not hearing of any. All those in favor of adopting tonight's agenda say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say no. It's adopted. Public comments and questions. This is a little different than in the past, so people online might not be aware of it. Anybody there, Nathan, that might want to speak? Okay. All right. Well, we can, this is kind of transition, even though it's not on here. Maybe at the end of the meeting, we can ask again. Is that kosher?
Then you would need to go back and amend the agenda.
Okay, we won't do that. I don't
Okay.
want to do that. Okay, forget it. You're right. And everybody here is not public, unless any of you have something you want to say. Get 3 minutes. All right. Then we'll move on to our consent agenda. Is there a motion to adopt tonight's consent agenda, which is the shortest I think I've ever seen?
That is a short one. I'll make a motion, we adopt tonight's consent agenda.
Second?
I'll second it.
Thanks. Any questions about it? Any questions about the two things that are on it? All right, I think they were pretty self-explanatory in the backup documents. Okay, all those in favor of the consent agenda say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Say no. Okay, it's consent agenda is adopted. Here we go. Get down to it now. The Spotlight on Success. The best program for 2023 and 2024, starring Kristen McCracken.
Hello, good evening.
And hello to you.
Hi, how's everyone?
We're
Great.
good, thank you.
Thank you for being here tonight.
Yes, thank you. I'm actually glad we did change it from March 25th. I was really sick.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
March
no.
25th, so it's a good thing.
Oh, you
That
feeling
means-
better?
Oh, much better. Thank goodness for spring break, right?
Oh, well, that's not how you want to use it.
No, no. So thank you for welcoming me. As you can see, I have shared a slideshow with you. There's a photo of day one of our new teachers that were hired this past year. 4 were hired after academy. That was the majority of our new hires from this year. Go ahead and advance. Thank you. Introduction to the best program, this induction standards stakeholder team. We have a wonderful, amazing team that meets 3 times a year with Diana, myself, Tammy French, high school social studies teacher, and she's also a mentor. Shelly Castellano, high school CTE teacher. Brittany Acheda, middle school MTSS coordinator and also mentor. Ismael Ramos, FMS math teacher and mentee. Frances Velasquez, she's our first grade FES teacher and also a mentor. And Sarah Warner, 4th grade math teacher at FES and also a mentee. So our stakeholder team is really essential to what we are doing with this program and the grant money that we receive every year. I mentioned this last year, that induction is a collective sense of responsibility for all of our stakeholders and all of our principals, all of our staff. Everyone comes together and shares this sense of responsibility because what we do for our teachers, we do for our students. Go ahead, thank you. Last year, the stakeholder team wanted to make some changes. So you can see this huge giant list of updates and changes that we wanted to implement for this school year, starting with updating the mentor program handbook. So Diane and I worked on that together. We offer some tech training for new hires. We provided all new teachers with a resource binder that they added to as we met every month. And that was from a stakeholder initiative. We revised our early release days to support more grade level and department level team meetings, again, with our new teachers in mind, so that they could work closely with their grade level teams and their department teams to build success. During our roundtables, we focused on TPEP, the evaluation framework, and each month we took a dimension from TPEP from the Self-5D framework and had our new teachers do self-reflections and focus on what they're doing well and what areas they needed to improve on.
What's TPEP stand for?
Teacher Principal Evaluation
Program.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's our state required evaluation system.
And then year 2 mentees, so teachers in their 2nd year, we again focused on understanding by design, which focuses on the state standards and assessment. So they take what they know about their standards, how students will be assessed, and kind of work backwards to design appropriate lesson plans for their students to build success. We wanted to increase walkthroughs, observations, and peer observations. And we increased communication at least monthly with admin team so that they knew what we were working on each month. And last year's focus was to continue to grow the colleague mentor pool. Go ahead and advance. Thank you. Mentoring is a large part of what we do with the BEST program. Washington State has specific standards for mentoring, and we use those as we meet each month. Go ahead. Our focus, again, is induction and mentoring standards. Diana and I carefully select appropriate mentors and make sure that they are fully trained before we place them with novice teachers. At our roundtable meetings, we do just-in-time training. So for example, in September, we'll make sure new teachers know how to do parent-teacher conferences, that they know how to post grades for end of the quarter. So just-in-time training is training that they need right then and there. We focus, again, like I said, on Self-5D+, which is our TPEP framework. And then heavily focusing on diversity, equity, and inclusion. So each month, the mentor team meets together and we receive training in that. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Thank you. Increasing the mentor pool was my focus last year. And so I wanted to look ahead and say, okay, what do we need in future years? We had 13 teachers that were hired this school year. 6 of them were novice, 7 were new hires, but had multiple years of experience. So we offered them support as needed. Our second year cohort was pretty small of 5, and our third year cohort was quite large at 10 teachers. So we wanted to make sure we had a mentor pool that could sustain and meet with those novice teachers.
So you've got 28
We have,
in the pool right now. How many total is there?
Well, there are a total of 84 certificated, but if you take the principals out of that, I think we have a total of 79. So that's really about more than a quarter, between a quarter and a third of our current staff are within their first 3 years. It's pretty significant when you're looking at the impact of instruction, because the research is really clear and it shows that teachers really gain their stride somewhere between year 3 and 5 when they've had all the experiences that make them great teachers.
So we want to keep building our pool of trained mentors so that our mentors don't experience mentor fatigue. When I'm calling on the same mentors to support new teachers year after year, it can get overwhelming, especially when many of our veteran teachers wear multiple hats. They might be on a BLT team or union rep or coach sports. So I want to kind of go through a cycle. Go ahead, Hazel, thank you. So there's a cycle that we use here at QVSD. So new teachers are hired. Their first year, they have an instructional coach, which is typically me. In their second year, could also be me or another colleague mentor. In their year 3 and 4, they have colleague mentors, and then we begin training them for becoming a mentor. And then by year 5, they should be able to, if they're fully trained, they could take on a third year mentee and support new teachers.
How much experience do they need to do a first year mentee? How many years of?
We
To
typically
mentor.
don't partner colleague mentors with a first year mentee.
That's you.
That would be me, yeah, to be very transparent. So I would have all the brand new teachers, and it'd be very consistent with how I coach them.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I mean, Kirsten is really organized, but she and I meet monthly. And so then we talk about her experiences, maybe not specific because her role
Right.
is very confidential with having a safe person for brand new teachers. But she can say, I've been in X amount of classrooms for this amount of time where we've done a pre-conference, a post-conference. I've met and done special things in this building because of the amount of mentees in that building and so forth. So she really does utilize her time, spending the most time with those year 1 staff. That's intentional so that they get the support they need.
And the mentor pool, we have those folks on the left-hand side, that left column currently. They're actively mentoring a third year mentee. In the middle, we have some trained mentors who either passed on the chance to mentor this year or just they weren't available. And then we have some folks interested in training. And so like I mentioned earlier, I want to work with Diana to recruit the best mentees into mentoring. And last year, I shared a report with you about the whole phenomenon of teachers coming home or new professionals returning to their hometowns. It's kind of a big thing that we've seen in teaching, and also growing our own. So a lot of the pictures of these teachers right here were once students and grew up here, and now they are back to serve our clients and our students. So we want to grow our own.
Just to give you an idea too, I think part of the training, well, first of all, it's based on national research, but part of the skill training that the mentors get is how to work with adults, because working with adults are very different than working with kids. We're trained on how to work with kids first. And so there are reflective questioning, just a gazillion different strategies to use with an adult learner once you've figured out how they learn best.
And the state, OSPI, is offering mentor training. They call it 101, 201, and then they're considering maybe a 301 for advanced mentoring skills. And it's all still through Zoom. They're not doing in person yet, but so we want to take advantage of that. and get as many of our mentees trained as possible. And so my goal this year was to increase peer observations. So on the left, the mentees that we had hired this year, again, in our first year cohort, 13 teachers total, but 6 were novice, and then 7 had experience. So all 6 out of 6 took advantage of those peer observations, and we were going into classrooms together and looking at veteran teachers. 2 out of 7 wanted to also experience that. The other 5 didn't have to. The year 2 cohort teachers, we had 4 out of 5 complete their peer observations in that first semester. And the only reason that wasn't 5 out of 5 is because we had someone go out on maternity leave. So, what are you gonna do? And then colleague mentors, 8 out of 10 mentors observed their mentees and vice versa. And again, that was in the first semester, and I want to bump that up to 100% and get everyone into classrooms, observing veteran teachers, looking at action, teaching in action. So that's my goal. And then here is just a sample of first and second year teachers at QVSD, and they've shared what they have learned so far in the BEST program. So if you want to take a moment to kind of look at that. But what I mostly gathered from their quotes is this: we have this wonderful sense of community and collaboration here at QVSD. Our new teachers, our novice teachers are feeling really welcomed. They feel supported. They feel like they have someone to go to when they have challenges. They're getting reflective feedback to improve their practice. So this program is really doing what it's supposed to do: retain our new teachers, help them support students, and help build success, not only for novice teachers, but all of our students. And then, of course, I took some snapshots of teachers in their first, second, and third year to share with you as well. Questions?
So this is mandatory, right?
Yes, for first and second year teachers, yes, the BEST grant covers and supports those first and second year teachers. They do get a stipend for participating.
Okay.
So, but if they don't show, of course, I come knocking on their door to see why. Yes, it is mandatory for first year and second year teachers.
So how many first year teachers are there?
We hired 13 this year, but 6 of them were in their first year.
Yeah.
Brand new.
Oh, it said that on-
Yes.
So they require the most, like
They
how
do.
to have control of their classroom.
Yeah, classroom
stuff like that.
management, looking at assessment data and making decisions about where to go next in the lessons. We talk a lot about those 2 in particular. And then just little things, how to talk to parents on the phone if you need to call home. Yeah, other little nuances of teaching.
What's the biggest problem a new teacher has?
They try to do it all. They want to do it all. That's the biggest problem, but discipline is up there.
Yeah.
Classroom management is up there. I'm trying to find, the
Right
tools and
now.
tricks that work for you as a teacher. So,
Interesting.
and then all the paperwork, grading,
Yeah.
managing that in a timely fashion. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Just
Thank
wanted
you
to
for-
thank you for your, you just are really right on it all the time
Thank
and
you.
helping our staff. And I really appreciate the work that you do.
Well, I had wonderful teachers who taught me how to do this, former mentors in this room that had this program. And so,
The only thing
I
we're
have big
missing
shoes to
is that
fill.
she's no longer in the classroom. That's the best and the worst about moving a person to the teacher on special assignment like her. Each year where we put a new person in and we pull from that veteran teacher in the classroom, but she's a master. She really does
Thank
work
you.
well with our teachers.
thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
What?
Go home and cook dinner.
What?
I know. Somebody's gotta feed them.
She had the gall to say she was leaving. Okay, next up on our Spotlight on Success is Sherry Llewellyn on the food services.
Well, thanks for having me.
Oh,
Appreciate it. I was trying to think, I didn't want to go over all the many thousands of rules in food service again. for
Why
the 10th
not?
time. So I thought,
we trust you to know those.
I do. I can't see that far, so I'm gonna read off mine. I can't see this far either. So,
Would you like someone to read it for
I
you?
was say, can you
I got it now.
if you want?
okay. We applied for the CEP 4 years ago, and what that is community eligibility provisions. And what it means is that depending on your percentage of free and reduced income students, the government will then pay for that. So, and the rest of the kids also. So like, I want to explain how that works. If you are 40% free and reduced, which we are, it is mandatory. So you have to do it whether you want to or not. And now in the grades K through 4, I believe, it's now down to 30%. So we applied right in the middle of the first part of COVID. We got accepted, but then we didn't use it for 2 years because we had to do the SSO program, which is the summer food model, because the government told us to. So we never actually got to implement it till last year. Well, we're on a 4-year cycle, so we're up to redo it for this next year. And I go to a training on the 18th to pull all our data together, and we've got some really good data, and our data administrator does a great job. So what it is our direct cert list, and that is the kids that go to our schools and get social services. So DSHS downloads, or we actually download the list from them. And then there's the migrant list, the homeless list, the ECAP, and foster kids. So you add all of those numbers together of all those students, and then you times that by 1.6, and you get your percentage. And so the federal government will pay for all the meals for that percentage, and the state will come in and pay the difference. So no matter who you are, what your, economics are, everybody eats free.
And part of the theory with the CEP is that it reduces the amount of bureaucracy that goes with the regular program. So it should, in theory, result the burden being on the employees of us having to collect all of the family income surveys and whatnot. And if you've heard in the news, like California is going completely CEP. I believe in Washington State in a couple of years, we will be required completely regardless of percentage.
And why would, you mentioned at the beginning that if a school chose to do, to do this program, why would they not?
Well, if you were 10%, so you were 10% free and reduced, you have a whole different food service model. You don't even have to be in the National School Lunch Program. That's where you've got, and there are some schools, not a lot in our state, but where it's like the food court at the mall. But they're paying full price for
Their
and
parents.
there's no rules. There's no, you have to have 8 ounces of milk. You have to have these certain vegetables. So they just, it's usually run by a separate company. And those are just the bigger schools. Usually high schools are like that in some, areas like Bellevue.
So do you still provide the spread, like at the high school, you have the buffet kind of thing with salad and all
So we
that?
do a veggie and fruit bar every day for lunch. And then we offer 2 different entrees so they can choose their entree. And then they can come back to the salad bar as many times as they want.
And that's all for free?
And that's all for free. And
And,
breakfast also.
okay.
So, did I miss anything, Diana?
Go on to the.
Well, okay, so what you're saying is that population that used to figure into your free and reduced
Mhm.
to make at 40% or 75% or whatever, that's what the feds pay for.
Right.
And then the other 40%, 80 or 60%, if I get my math right, the other 60% is picked up by the state.
Mhm.
And usually the feds pay for us. They pay a lot more. Their percentage is higher because our percentage is higher.
Right. So the state's not picking it up, but for somebody that's at 20% and they choose to
Well, if
do
they were
this
at
and the state's got to
30%,
pick
the
up
state would have to pick up
the other 70.
70.
I see.
Now, there is a clause, and I don't know it, but if it's too low, then the state starts to do some refiguring, but we're not
Right,
not that,
right.
and I haven't looked into what that is, because I don't want to know more than I have to.
So Sherry, why don't you go over those highlights? I mean,
Oh, the
what,
highlights. So this is, our participation, meal participation is higher than it was in 1920, which was right before
For
COVID.
COVID, how much higher?
About 13%.
So what is that? What's the total then?
Oh,
97%?
I think we're feeding on a current basis, about 700 to 800 lunches a day
out of 900 kids?
out of 900.
Oh.
Well,
that's great. That's
86.
great.
Because
or eight, yeah.
there's no stigma to it. Kids aren't racking up a bill that their parents can't pay. And so it's just, it's a lot better for the kids, I'll tell you.
Well, and it's better for our food service.
And the family.
Will that work to expand or improve offerings? Or do you feel like our offerings are already best?
Eventually, we'd like to do a little bit more scratch cooking. The problem is, and I shouldn't call it a problem, but
The hurdle
you have
is,
to use all whole grains. So when your pasta's whole grain and your everything is whole grain pasta isn't what most students eat, and it's kind of gummy. And so we're trying to figure out things that we can make that they're really gonna like.
gotcha.
You know, because if we make something that,
Yeah, nobody
It
eats,
doesn't
then
taste
you
good.
waste it.
Yeah.
and-
Yeah.
and the price of food right now is, well, everybody probably knows this, is incredibly high,
Mhm.
incredibly high.
Oh,
So
okay.
do all the students, no students pay for their lunches?
No.
Breakfast.
They-
No.
So when they go through the lunch line, everybody's equal? Or do you have a little
Everybody-
card,
everybody
they stamp
has
your
either
card?
number- The older grades, the middle school and high school, they have their PIN number, they just put it into the system, because we have to track that they ate. It just goes to zero balance. And then the little kids at the elementary, they have a card with a barcode, and they just, yeah. Because the clerk has to make sure they have a reimbursable meal, that's the other thing. They have to have specific amounts of food on their tray. So they have to watch for that.
And if they don't, you go in.
You'd make them go back.
You gotta
Can you
get
please
some-
go back and
Get some fruit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, just in my perception, and Sherry probably has it, that we get a compliance review, and prior to COVID, our kids were not eating from the vegetable and fruit tray, the big buffet. Now they will eat almost everything
Yeah.
there.
It helped, especially at the elementary, when they started having recess before lunch, because then they come in and they're like hungry. And we have a lot
Oh.
less waste.
Which, by the way, that was implemented by Matt, and it was not a requirement by the state. It was a recommendation. Starting next year, it's a requirement. You don't have a choice. You have to allow the kids to have recess prior to lunch. Because otherwise,
Work
a
up
kid
an appetite.
doesn't want to eat and wants to go
He
play.
takes one bite of his burger, and then my friends are going, I gotta go. And then 2 hours later, they're starving.
And then the other requirement
idea.
this year, and we've already done it, and that is breakfast after the bell. So that no kid is penalized for
Riding
being
the
right on
bus or
time and not
something.
being able to eat because the cafeteria is already shut down.
So how long do they have time to eat breakfast?
We have, at least at the elementary school, we have a sack breakfast, so if they come in, mom, dad, whoever brings them in, they sign in at the office, grab a sack breakfast, take it to class, and so there's no time parameters.
And it's okay with teachers and it's okay with maintenance to eat in the classroom,
We don't have a choice.
Yeah.
right? No.
It's the law. High school's open till 9, we do that. And middle school's about 9, isn't it? Yeah.
Cool.
They have, our kids love the jicama and, because I think,
Loves what?
Donna has done a great
Jicama?
job getting what kids like. Jicama.
If you've never had jicama, you,
Other fruits from Mexico, and so like
it's great.
they'll sprinkle their little,
Is it growing at the
Tahini.
It's like a
We
root
used
crop.
we used to hide that.
A root
It's gonna be honest. We used to hide the tahini.
and we have some
Because
kids
I
that
couldn't
smuggle
get
in tapatio
Yeah.
sauce.
Qualified, and then I got it qualified, and now it's like, they'll eat more fruits and vegetables.
Cool.
That's so cool.
How much did it cost me to eat there?
$4.90.
Yeah, and we have set prices for adults. Yeah. But Sherry and her staff, they do a wonderful job. They do much more than just cooking. They oftentimes know things about kids because they're serving every kid and know what I call the hidden gems, sometimes the good, sometimes the bad, give us a heads up of what's going on with kids. So they
So
do a
you-
great job.
Still cooking everything over at the middle school or over here?
All
All three
schools.
schools.
All three
Mhm.
can cook something. Oh, okay.
Liz Sanchez greets every student by their name and pronounces their name as they wish. And so it's really nice to see, to stand by her and hear her greet every child.
Yeah.
By their name.
It's very inviting.
Her goal is to learn everyone's name. by week.
That's amazing.
Her goal is to what?
Learn everybody's name
Oh.
before the end of the first week.
Boy, that'd be hard.
She does it to the kids.
A lot of kids, yeah.
260.
Anyway,
I don't
kudos to
even
your
remember
staff,
board
Sherry.
members' names.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Sherry.
I can remember everybody at the store.
Well, I think it's about time. I think it's about time that kids got fed without the social stigma of being able to pay or not pay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, you're leaving too. Oh, boy. Okay.
Well, and it
Well,
also
thank
made
you.
it to where everyone was eligible for the PEBT.
Say that again?
With that change, it made it to where everyone in our area was eligible for the PEBT cards, little food stamp cards. Every
Yeah.
student, every household.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so that was
Because that's a big deal. And with the prices of food going up, so are the prices at the Shell and Thriftway and the other normal eateries,
Yeah.
outside school eateries. Okay. Well, those were good successes. I appreciate having that on the agenda. Board member reports. Does anybody have anything that has to do with school, not necessarily vacation?
well. Spring break.
Unless you
All the
went
kid-
surfing or
I
something.
didn't go surfing. No,
Anybody? Yeah, spring break, kind of a quiet week.
yeah, it was quite week with, I think the boys baseball played Saturday in PA, I know that.
Any games coming up?
We got home track this weekend.
Okay, water polo.
I think we're supposed to have a fast pitch and a home
Ball.
baseball game, pending weather.
Tomorrow, maybe?
Tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Water
I
think
polo.
it's
They will
supposed to be
both
nice.
be at Beaver. Is it supposed to be nice tomorrow?
Yeah, it's supposed to be nicer today.
So that means it only rained 7 hours instead of
Yeah.
12. Good.
It'll stop at 9.
Well, Saturday
Yeah.
looks nice for the track meet. In the last 2 years, it has been like either snowing, hailing, monsooning. So.
Where was it? Here?
Yeah, last year was first in the stadium and it was blowing sideways.
Sideways,
Right,
into,
right,
into
I
the
remember.
stadium.
Into the
yes.
stadium.
It was,
Like,
it was.
East wind, huh?
I'm looking forward to this Saturday. Will be nice.
Okay.
Hey, Bill, don't forget Insight.
I had one thing,
Yeah.
Oh, the reader board out there, have we heard anything more about that? What's gonna happen with,
No, but we're
Fire
planning on putting one in right in front of the school here.
oh, that's right, when?
We are ordering it now. We're gonna
Alright.
use some of our federal ESSER dollars. We've got extra ESSER dollars that we have to use by the end of the year.
Oh, that's good news.
Yeah, so it'll look like a TV. I mean, a nice new screen TV, we
How
can
big?
put pictures up there, pretty
Put it
big.
back
Where are you gonna put it?
Right in front of the high school.
Facing parallel to
It'll
the
be both
street?
sides.
Oh,
You'll see both sides.
so it'll be perpendicular to the street, so
Mhm.
you can keep
Oh, so
keep
you won't
coming
see
and
it
going?
from, you won't see it
I don't
from
know
the
if we knew
highway.
that.
That's all right though.
I think that then we'll have an opportunity to highlight students of the month with pictures, all kinds of stuff.
That'll be
How
cool.
much is that costing?
I
That's their
think
dollars.
about 40 grand.
Yeah, that's good.
But it's waterproof.
We can, during the summer, we can rent it out to businesses to
Hmm.
highlight their motel or something. Although I guess they all have them already, don't they? All right, anybody else on this board? Mike?
Yeah, I saw in the news, which they signed into law, apparently, I don't know when it go into effect, but every classroom is gonna get like a little bleeding control kit. And then everybody's gonna be trained in that classroom how to stop bleeding and stuff like that.
Interesting. I've not heard about that one yet.
So that was just like 2 or 3 nights ago on the news.
You just get
Seattle
Snoopy
news, so,
bandages and hand them out to everybody.
yeah.
How often does anybody really get cut that bad?
It only takes one.
Only takes one.
Well, I think they're thinking more like mass casualty,
Oh, that might be it.
maybe,
Oh, that's a good point.
so.
Might not be a bad idea, especially older kids. It does prevent, save lives.
Yep.
Maybe not here, but someplace, but it could be here. Kevin,
What?
anything?
No.
Myron or Sheila, would you like to add your 6 cents worth due to inflation?
Nothing specific. We're just excited to be here.
Did you have your spring break last week too? Or do you
Yes,
even
we did.
have spring break?
No, our teachers were off last week, so we had spring break last week. Right now, we're just ramping up for state testing, getting that ready to go. Reaching out to families and getting them signed up and registered for state testing is one of our big pushes. And then our teachers are also right now involved in training for the launch of our new learning platform, Engagely, for next year, which I talked about a few months ago. So they're knee deep in learning how to use that new platform for a live class connect. So we got a lot going on right now.
Okay, good. All right. Well, hi, Sheila. You don't have to say anything if you don't have anything.
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
Yep, okay. Great.
Another thing, what about esports? Have we heard any more about that?
So our esports season's still up and running. We're still doing that. I know that we recently competed in I think there was with a university, and one of our teams actually beat the University of Washington, so it was pretty cool. So we're still doing it. Our kids are still excited. Our students that are doing esports generally do better academically than their peers, so it seems to be really positive in that respect as well.
Cool.
So what are we doing it in?
What are we doing on ours?
I'm still in the process of building it. I have a lot of student interest. I'm just like that next step. I'm not there yet.
Oh, good. What are you working on?
I've gotten students, like a list of them that are really interested in it, so just that next piece.
Did you hear that, Myron? I didn't
Yep.
know if you could hear.
I could hear her. Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
So we can certainly. I know we're getting close. The season's still going on for the current year, but that's something maybe we can do too if we don't get there this year. Making sure that we kind of have a good, strong plan to launch with our kids in the fall. Whatever works for you guys.
Good. All right.
Maybe you guys can help each other. Yeah.
All right. Any other? We scared one board member away.
She'll be back.
I know. Okay. Well, then let's move on to our leadership report with Mabel. Forks Elementary Social and Emotional Learning. Mabel or Matt?
I'll start us off and then Mabel, she'll bring it home.
May-
and
I'm
share
sorry,
all sorts of
Mabel.
detail. You all were presented with some good teacher training with mentor piece that Kirsten does a great job with. Food service piece, so we talk teachers, teacher training, instruction, then food. Mabel and I are going to share a little bit at the elementary school student behavior piece. You have on your screens, or at least available to you, a presentation that Mabel put together, not only for our staff, but also traveling out. And she'll tell you a little more about when she went to Tacoma, but kind of the backstory and leading up to this piece where the first year implementation this year. As we all digested COVID, we came out of COVID, we probably heard at this table and others around student behavior and challenges, and how to support teachers, teach when kiddos are dysregulated and acting not conducive to the learning environment, I guess, as we say. If punitive measures from staff or students or staff or teachers or what have you were the only measure, we would have solved it years ago. But even that year, first year we came out of COVID, I probably suspended more kiddos, unfortunately, at the elementary school than I have in any level. I've worked from high school, middle school, and elementary. Punitive and solely punitive measures does not fix the problem. So Maybell and I put our heads together and really thought some other approaches. One, as you click through here, and Maybell will take you through it. We're not going to take a ton of your time this evening, but a wellness idea to support kiddos to regulate themselves. I believe that kiddos come to school, they want to they want to learn, they want to engage with teachers, friends. Some don't know how to regulate themselves when the word is, no, kiddo, we can't do that, but we have to do this. Or a neighbor says something that makes them upset, and then now they're through the roof and trying to, but oh yeah, by the way, you have to listen to teacher and be good and learn. And it's hard for young minds to be able to regulate themselves. So this wellness program in the classroom based, we also have a separate wellness room that students have access to, all students across the building, preschool all the way to 4th grade, to try to help teach them. Because we, even as adults, a colleague says something insensitive to us, something happens out there on the street, somebody says something on social media, we immediately become flustered and lay out all sorts of expletive deleteds and whatever. We have to teach our kiddos how to navigate those realities that you're going to be in a relationship, either work, professional, personal, what have you. You're going to have to be able to keep your cool and still stay on task at the job, at studies, or what have you. So this is our introduction step, first year, to really layer in this, to start teach kids how to recognize those responses in their body and keep their cool and stay on task and do those sort of pieces. It's not easy, but I would be here to say, just in a short year of this, and I'd be happy to share specific data around even just suspensions. Let's take that as one data point. The number of suspensions last year comparatively to this year were less than half of those from last year at the elementary school. So that, I think that data point alone would share that we're doing something right, making some measures really to high flyers of kiddos that have a lot of engagement, let's say, in the office with myself or Maybell, our behavior assistant, is really boiled down to 10 about kiddos across 417 kids in the building. Statistically, that's in the single digit percentages. So there's some real behaviors. I don't want to mislead anybody here. We do not let kids say the F word or other pieces. It's not letting them. Kids do. The reality is you can be anywhere. Kids use inappropriate, foul language, but it's our job to teach them that is not the language you use in this setting or that setting, to understand that you have to regulate yourself to be a functional human being out there in society or on campus in school. So this is just a one place. It's really not a program. It's really a philosophy on how to work with kids. But it's been very effective already. But it takes an entire campus team. This is not just Maybell and I. This is everybody on campus doing this.
Isn't it a lot of it learned behavior that they learn from home, and then they bring it to school, and then you got to say, well, I can do that at home.
Of course it is, yeah.
So
At the elementary school, a parent pulling up in the yellow zone, and as the door opens, you hear a variety of F-bombs and this and that, and he or she, Shannon's in trouble and gets, sort of lambasted by mom because mom's having a rough morning. And then 5 minutes later, we want her to come into the classroom, sit quietly and say, yes, okay, I'll do this, stay focused. It's unrealistic to Shannon if she's 7, 8, 9, even 10 years old. So
21,
how do
22.
yeah. How do we realistically, yeah, sorry, I'm picking on you,
You're
but
fine.
it'd be hard.
it's very hard. It's very hard, but we have to step back as adults, and even as kiddos are sort of blowing their stack, as it were, stay calm, tone of voice, body language, recognize them. That's why Elaine is mentioning staff members that recognize students' name, know the child by name, know a little bit of their backstory, know mom, dad, whatever the family structure scenario is.
That's helpful. And not that we're forgiving dropping the F-bomb, but the reality is kindergartners, yes, like it, not like it. It's just reality. We're not teaching them. We're not letting them, but they do say F you to people and teachers, unfortunately, and it's not right. I oftentimes say to the kiddo, you won't want to say that to mom, or certainly when you get a job and you say that to your boss, that's not going to go well for you. So let's learn that now. And so this wellness program and just structure really positive behavior sort of way is to try to chain them early to be able to regulate themselves, recognize those behavior emotions in themselves. And then you get to Atlanta and then Brenda, they'll be somewhat sort of able to regulate themselves as a functioning human being, that things are going to go south sometimes, and she's going to say something to me, it pisses me off, and I'm going to be upset, as opposed to going to Duke's or saying something foul back to her. I can somewhat sort of try to regulate myself and go jump in the lake and off you go.
Sometimes it's probably hard for you guys.
Yeah.
So what I'm gonna
Yeah.
show you, if you don't mind presenting, is the wellness room is only one, and the board has access to these. I presented a portion of that at WASCA, but the wellness room is only one of many of the tier, and it's actually a tier 2. You can go ahead. Thank you. So that's just an example what the room, you guys are welcome to come. It's actually a well-designed room that it has, you can continue the elements. That's that the order that it is. Okay, so that's, wait a minute. Okay. I don't remember that being the order, but that's okay. So that is the K-4 model. That is the elementary model that is designed specifically under the MTSS for elementary. That means that 80% of my time as a school counselor, I am with students, either individually in small groups or doing lessons in the classrooms. And intentionally, 20% of my time is doing either what we call in non-direct hours. But it's still important, working with parents, doing everything. That is the matrix, the multi-tier matrix. You can say that, yeah. So as you know, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Tier 1 means if you look at it, it's got all the 3 models. So it's got the academic, the career and college, and the social emotional, as is required by ASCA, which is the American School Counseling Association nationally, that requires that we school counselors focus since elementary in all of these 3 areas. So it's very, very important. And as a tier 1, you see all the different things that the students have access in a building. Tier 2, obviously, is a small percentage of students also receiving all of that in those 3 areas: academic, college and career, and social emotional. And if you go back to the first one, that one is tier 3, which, as you guys know, part of that is also individual counseling, telehealth program, social emotional small groups, and all the different resources that are there. So that is specifically the tier 3 that we have. Go ahead, Selena.
So the theory is that with tier 1, all of the kids get that foundational academic, social and emotional learning and career. And then the kids out of the general population that don't get it, we move them up into tier 2, where they get a little bit more dosage of different things depending on what their needs are. And then there's a small percentage of students who, even with the tier 2 support, still don't get it, and they need an additional layer on top of that. That's the theory of what I call the pyramid. And if you do the level 1 really, really well in your schools about behavior, social emotional learning, then it should, in theory, reach 80% of your kids if you do tier 1 really, really well. That's kind of the philosophy.
So
Anyway.
absolutely. So that being said, and we obtained a grant, and that grant facilitated what I proposed to the Cloudland Resilience is, what if, because as Ms. Sage said, we have so many right after COVID, our office, it was just inundated with kids because of nature versus nurture, right? All that. And we just couldn't handle, and we understood that our teachers couldn't teach, but it was just impossible. So I said, what if we create, and I went in a conference and I met different people, and pretty much all the counselors across the state of Washington were complaining about the same thing. We knew the students were dysregulated, K-12, and so they brought all kinds of presenters, and one of them was Generational Wellness, which has been here before in 2017, I believe, or 18. And so Lindsay said, I'll come. if you find a way. So I said, well, you let me find money. So we wrote some grants, and she came in. Our staff was super, super happy. And we coordinated a room. The truth is wellness, as the state said, it's not a program, it's not a place, it's a practice, and we have to do it every day. So teachers, students, we have to do a lot of co-teaching to the parents, to the teachers, and to the students. So, and you can go ahead. So this is based on Dr. Bruce Perry. So all of this is evidence-based. I want you to know this is all the new studies that it shows that pretty much what students need is a place for them to regulate, which means I need to be, find myself, then connect that connection with that adult. Who is that adult? 5 minutes. What's important to you? And then I'm able to reflect. But the traditional discipline is why? Why are you doing this when things are happening? Students will escalate. You never want to confront whether it's a 5-year-old or 18-year-old. You want them to be calm. So we created some protocols, and I had to create these because I want to make sure teachers understood that, as we know, discipline. This is not a room where kids go and destroy. This is a room for kids to connect, and they're not toys; they're tools, and they all have the basic neurosequential needs, which is sensory, movement, the ability for them to actually feel relational, and repetitive movement. As you probably wonder, the kids that are the most distracted in the school are the ones that will go into the bicycle, into the trampoline, into the movement. But actually, it is proven that if you sit for 3 to 5 minutes and do that, automatically your brain resets. And that's why trampolines for adult women is a very popular thing now, because it does work. So it worked for children.
So how does it work when, like, a kid's acting up in class? How do you get the kid down to the wellness room?
So part of my lessons that I go every day, and I'm every day in a classroom, I teach students. This is Dr. Siegel, which is teaching students the brain in your hand. I'm calm, I'm green, I'm ready. I'm not ready, I need help. So I ask the teacher, can I go in the corner? Every classroom has, as a tier 1, a corner. We call those regulation zones. And I can be there 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and teach students time to reset. Okay, I'm not well. Okay, maybe I need help. My lid is up, and I'm angry, I'm upset. I can sit outside, I can call the office, they all have a radio. They call our office, and we take someone to the wellness room, 5 minutes. They reset, they pick a tool, which is filled with all kinds of materials, and then they talk. What happened? Instead of why is what happened, which is a rhetoric question. Instead of saying, tell me why you're doing this, tell me what you need. We all have needs, whether we're 5 or 20 or 50. We all have needs. We have wants, but we have needs. If I ask you what you need after you're home, you're going to tell me. And then you're going to see it, you can go next.
So who's in the wellness room? Is
It's
that
a child
staffed
and
all the
adult.
time?
Yes,
or-
it's a staff. Yes.
Could be a variety of pieces, could be myself, could be Mabel, could be paraeducator, usually one of those 3 pieces.
So if you look, this was shared with me with Lindsay Morris. She was so happy I co-presented with her at WASCA, and she told me, you can go ahead and put my, that's from her. She said, the truth is, we cannot ask children to know what is wrong until they don't feel safe, right? And that's the co-regulation. After they feel safe, they need to feel loved. We all need to be loved, whether you're 5 or 20 or 90. And after you're loved, then tell me why, how, and why. And that is absolutely true. I mean, this is pure science, and that is what is based on it. So I created these. This is a wellness room that goes on those 3 models. So Dr. Perry calls it co-regulate. He calls it relate. I call it connect. He calls it reflect. I call it reflect. So make sure we call that intellectual property. So make sure we give credit to generational wellness, because those are her words. So but we have to create that. So make sure that, see, the first one is given by the student, the wellness pass, as a teacher writes that. And then an adult takes a child to the room, and it has a reflective listening component. No more than 5 to 10 minutes.
Does this happen in high school too? Does it?
No.
No, not yet.
Not
yet.
Mabel and I have been talking about it, and she's been supporting us, so she reached out to Marin last week, and we started getting or the week before,
A
getting
toolbox.
tools, a
Yeah.
toolbox set up, ready to
We
go.
are providing telehealth. I want you to know telehealth is across K to 12, and that has been happening, and actually, we have almost 50
Because I mean,
families.
if it works there, it should work in high school.
It should, but I always begin little. I
Yeah,
begin
yeah,
in that, but yes, absolutely, it works. It is works. I want you to know that this model comes from the Kent model, which has 90% success of reduction of behavior referrals. 90%. And I'm going to go to PBAS and I'm going to present with Lindsay Morris because she's going to record and she wants this data. Because this is facts and you'll see all the data. Because
So-
I turn words into data because I like to show you what it works.
So you say 90% success rate.
Yes. Behavior referrals reduction. Yeah.
What, is there recidivism? I mean, it works for the kid once and he goes back to his classroom and the next day he's back there again, or it really does correct it where they don't come back at all?
Absolutely, and I would just go back to what Kevin was saying in a particular family or family that's struggling, or a particular kid that's struggling. Recidivism, absolutely. We're not going to be able to fix any given child, certainly in 1 year, and potentially not even during the entire elementary experience, because there's a variety of factors that are really challenging for that student to regulate themselves. So, but it's these little pieces that try to sort of stem the tide of referrals and in-school suspension and out-of-school suspension, all those sort of pieces, train the kiddo to, and as the long story short, my sort of view is we're just teaching it, unfortunately, maybe another thing, but we're really teaching children how to regulate their emotions and their responses to scenarios that we all find themselves into in daily life.
And that actually is part of Washington standards for teachers and counselors. Same mindset, we call it mindset in ASCA, but it's the same thing for Washington standard. And I have that at the end of the presentation. To learn to self-regulate, it is a standard. To learn to deal with others, it's a standard. To learn to make appropriate decisions, it's a standard. So that's what I'm teaching. If I go to a child and I give an opportunity, this is all restorative, by the way, so there's no punishment. I go in and say, tell me, what do you need? Well, I just wish I blah, blah, blah. Food. Maybe I go to the Basic Foundation. If you keep going, I'll show you because I don't want to take a lot. I promised Dan I was going to do it shorter.
Well, hang on. So how about kids on the autism spectrum?
They're welcome, and I'm going to show
Well,
you. a
I
percentage of
understand
that.
they're welcome, but is it
works.
effective?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It is. It is, absolutely. And I'm going to give you the percentage of what it is as part of the presentation. So it is adhered to, and part of the model, you can go ahead. So part of the model is that you can actually use it for kids before they act up, so they get to know themselves, right? Awareness is so important. If I know what is happening to me, I can ask for help. I need to remove myself. I need help. But children with autism or any other disabilities, we can also reward as part of PBIS, and I have that. So if I have students right now, in my 10 to 12 students, they are my daily, that if they can sit for 30, 45 minutes to do work, that before they were not doing it, you get 5 minutes in the wellness room, yeah, they're gonna do it. And that reduces 100% my behavior. And I do it in the morning, and I do it in the afternoon, and at the end of Friday, they have an extra reward with me, get a popsicle. You telling me? Yeah, they're doing it.
Will this work at work?
Yes, that's Dr. Siegel, my lid is up, yeah.
There's times
Actually-
Bruce.
Actually, I had a teacher last year. She was very upset, and I walk into the room, she goes, my belt, my lid is up, please, I don't wanna talk. And I said, yes,
Well,
ma'am, I walk away.
Well, and joking aside though, I mean, it's a
it
good
works.
piece, but like having
Yeah.
kids recognize, like,
Yeah,
could you give me a minute as
yeah,
the teacher's, upset with them and maybe
Yeah.
rightfully so, but
Yeah.
having the kiddo just like be able to say like, also have the ability to potentially also defuse the
Yeah.
scenario where
Yeah.
they can say, okay, could you give me just a minute, let me think about that,
Mhm.
to just, as opposed to ratcheting up, well, I'll show you, like,
Yeah.
I'm here, and then all the things that
a
happen
power
after that.
struggle.
Nothing
Yeah.
goes well after
Yeah.
that. When you're both here, it's gonna
Yeah.
go badly.
Yeah, Kevin, you go to that room, but you don't come back.
So I want to show you really quick the results we began last September. I had only 6 students because I finished full equipped at the end of September. And I had 6 students, and I started saying which one were the most visited. My K and TK, of course, mostly boys. And go ahead, we'll go quickly. This October was a big success. I had 94 interventions. 94, most of them kinder students, as we know. Those came a little dysregulated. I had a few TK, but so my big highlight were, as you can see, kinder and 3rd grade. And those are the 2 big groups, right? And they look what they came, right? Red, which means I'm angry, right? Those songs of regulation. If I'm green, I'm calm. If I'm yellow, anxious, blue, I'm sad. Orange, I'm getting frustrated. And red, I'm angry, angry, angry. So the students are able to say how they feel before they come in and after they come in. And
What is
that's I'm
silly?
measuring.
That would be Kevin.
Silly.
Oh,
Goofy.
yeah. That's
Is that
just
where
silly.
you are
Yeah.
silly and you go to this room, or you go to this room and you are silly?
This is before, so these are kids that were just being,
Goofy.
goofy and
yeah,
not
at the elementary school, that's a great question.
Yeah, there is silly.
Silly at the elementary school would really, it's somewhat being non-compliant even
Yeah,
when you're in.
it's
Oh,
fine.
then that's not
You're
it.
so silly that you're not sitting down, you're not doing whatever, and you could potentially be running around the classroom, laughing, not listening. In essence,
Yeah.
you're not listening to your teacher.
So we
Okay.
go after, so gender, so gender is surprise, right? Sorry, guys, you know how it is, right? Not picking on you, but usually there is more male students than female. Go ahead. October, look at that. So if you remember, I had, most students came in red, 49.4 left on green. The rest, so there's something to know that at the beginning in October, I was still teaching and reteaching a lot of my parents. So the no data means when kids will come in and the parents will not tell me afterward how they feel. So it is important what we call that temperature check. I need to know what they're coming and then after and the interventions utilized. Go ahead. So by October, look at all the interventions. These are my tools. They use everything, but of course, the movement, the repetitive, and the sensory is one of the favorites because it is known that if you touch something that is soft of movement, your brain reacts and comes down. Go ahead.
Look at the jumping.
Oh yeah, they love that. That trampoline, I'll tell you. So we go November. Before November was an interesting month because it's short and we lost our behavior specialist. She helped me a lot. She moved to a different job, so it was a shortened month. But so that was before. Go ahead, look at after. So even though it was a very few, remember green is positive, right? If I'm on green, I'm calm. Now for qualitative analysis, the blue, I want you to know that there are some kids that are sad. They come in sad and they leave sad. And that's okay too, as long as they're not being a distraction and, they're not crying, but they're still sad. So there's some students that not necessarily change, the same as yellow, which means anxious, right?
Okay. I was going
Yes.
to say, what's the yellow?
Yes, it's anxious. I'm worried. Yellow is anxious and I'm worried. Okay, so these you wanted to know what was the correlation of, I wanted to measure students with EL because it was important to me. It was my smaller percentage, and I wanted to know the 504. So most people think this room is more for kids with behavioral issues or special needs. As you will know, it's actually for everyone, and it's general education. And my 504 percentage was really small if you look at it, right? IEP, which means special education, 12%, and my 504, 4%. But if the majority was general education, go ahead. So December, being a shortened month, so as you can see, December is a very interesting month because as you know, many kids, not for everyone, they like to go home. And I hear that a lot. I don't want to go home. We're talking about food. I cannot tell you home. It makes me so happy to see that my students eat breakfast and lunch because so many of them don't. So at home. And so December is a month that even though this was before the regulation, and look at after. So 69% of my students, even though December was a mixed month that had a lot of kids anxious and worried and sad, the majority left, almost 70% of them, after using the wellness room, almost 70%. So that is a lot. January, again, another month.
What are the kids? What are some things that kids are angry about?
oh my God, it could be everything and nothing.
Oh.
You know, someone pushed you down the line, someone
Oh,
looked me
okay.
wrong, someone took the
Oh,
teacher's not
okay,
paying
kind of
attention.
incidental anger.
Mhm.
Yes, but if you've never seen a kinder student being upset in less than 2 minutes, I welcome you. I mean, you clear that room really quickly because they throw everything quickly. So we try to, as much as we can, you know, for the sake of other students, to keep the room safe. But they can be angry for anything or nothing. It doesn't have to be big.
Do the other students look down at the kids that gotta go to the room?
No, because that room doesn't have a name. It doesn't have no, I mean, some kids want to be there because they know it's a reward, and it can be a reward. You're
Oh,
doing great work, so we're gonna reward you.
Sometimes quite the opposite, the elementary level, it's actually maybe even built up as a good place to go.
oh, cool.
Yeah, it's not a discipline room.
Oh,
It's not a discipline room. No, when there's no referral. Kids hate when the teacher sees that paper being written and the teacher say, I'm gonna write a referral. No, that's a reason to be angry. But if you go into the wellness room, okay, because it's not cognitive. So that's before the regulation room. You see a lot of sadness and a lot of anxious, right, and angry. But look at that, 71% January. So it does work.
So what do we do? What do you do with the kids that are still anxious and sad? Are
Well-
those beyond
No, I mean,
the scope of what you're doing?
no, some of these kids that are anxious or worried, it could be something small.
Or
Some of them
something
are
at
very
home?
shy.
Yeah, sure.
And we talk about it. Some of them I see them individually. Some of them I check in with them individually. But sometimes some of these kids, I have a few kids that are very shy.
And
they're
so
quiet.
the colors or the kids that go into the green or the blue, you assess that from talking to them, whether they've moved.
So it's a measuring that they come in and they say how you feel as you come in, sit down. We put a timer. They choose whatever tool they want. And then after 5 minutes talking with an adult, they connect. Tell me what you need. Okay, what would you do better? How do you feel now? Are you ready to go back? The past has that question. Are you ready to go back? They say yes. And then they say how they feel. So
That's a kid's voice.
Yeah, yeah. And I have.
Yeah, that's what I was
I
wondering.
have hundreds, by now I have almost 250 of those. You're welcome to see it. It's confidential. I'm the only one who has access to those papers. So that room is also for groups, so we can do groups. That's what I do with my peer buddies. I meet with them every Monday. We do a lot of learning, and that's what they are assigned.
how many students at a time go into that room?
We can have up to 4 students because I have a one-on-one, then I have different tables and I have different things. So yeah, up to 4 students.
Because I had it visualized as 10, 15 kids in there.
Oh, I have up to 10 students when we do groups. Yeah.
Oh.
It's big, but remember, this room is not for kids to be throwing and destroying
So
things.
Yeah.
what groups? Not groups that are all anxious?
Well,
They're groups that like your
peer body.
peer buddies, but I mean,
Any other groups.
so you have a group of 10 kids that are anxious about something,
It could be, the room can be utilized either for social emotional or for any other staff that wants to have a group there.
Oh, okay.
So it could be, I invite parents or other special ed if they want to utilize. It's a room that is available for anyone, pretty much, have
Gotcha.
access, so,
Okay.
yeah. One of the takeaways they asked me in Huasca, how do you build this? And I said, I want to thank you all here on this table, because I think presenting these ideas to you guys, obviously, Matt, Diana knows how passionate I am about helping students and building those relationships with many people. They have done this, they have proven to do this, and it works. Reviewing the data, which is what I do. I collect data, I present data, I make sure this is evidence-based, and I share this with you all. And now I have other school districts that want to do it in Olympia. PA just requested to me that they want me to help them create different rooms, so it
That's
works.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So conclusions is that was done before Huasca that I presented. As of, I think it was the end of February, I had 161 interventions. The takeaway that I say is that all of those interventions were not referrals. Or the kids that were not being, sent to the office because discipline. A lot of the students were able to really increase the well-being, self-regulation, which is what we want. We want students to know, not because an adult tells them, but because they know they can do it. Just like self-esteem, doesn't matter what people tell you, it's what you know you can do. That's the best way to prove it.
So maybe I've missed something
Yes.
early on, maybe I didn't, but not all of the use was referrals. So can kids self-refer?
They can ask
Can I
anyone.
teach? I need to go to the room.
Yeah, you might be sort of misinterpreting the word referral as well. Referral really for the most part in the school level would be something that would be punitive or,
Right.
yeah, you're just being sent to the office,
Yeah,
not referring to the wellness room. So maybe
right.
it's-
Well, that's, yeah, I took it as a punitive thing.
Okay.
And so but you said, so a lot of the kids that are coming there are not referral eligible, or they didn't do something to get referred by their teacher.
I guess.
But the teacher recognized something and suggests it to them or says, you got to go there.
So both. So before the student acts or reacts, I should say, in a way that he will get himself in trouble and others, he can ask, or the teacher said, would you like to go to the wellness room? And the students say yes. So that's our self-awareness right there. Before I react, before I do something that will affect me and others, I need to do that. We have also students that are scheduled because they earn it. So it is positive.
Earn it.
Earn it, yes. So as I was saying, if a student is able to work for 45 minutes to an hour, that previously.
Oh, so the room itself is a reward.
This is
I
all
got you.
positive.
Okay.
Absolutely positive.
So they can go there,
restorative.
it's like getting a popsicle, but it's not a popsicle. You get to go to the room for a few minutes.
It
It's
can
kind
be
of
a
like
possible.
training young minds before I say something or do something that's likely going to get me in some pretty significant trouble. Think about it for a moment, take a break in the wellness room, sort of recalibrate, and okay, thank God I didn't do that, say that, and I'm going to get back to my,
Well,
I've
that's,
not been in trouble.
yeah, that's why I was asking. So
Yeah.
a student can initiate.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
I would have lived in that room.
What'd you say?
I would have lived in that room.
What you encourage is
Yeah.
self-awareness and self-management. That's what it is. And it's also the ability for not them getting a discipline referral to come to the office.
And how long did it take, do you think, for it to be comfortable? I mean, not every kid goes to the wellness room to learn about it. So is do the kids report back to their peers? I went to the wellness room and it was really cool.
For sure, there's conjecture. I mean,
Yeah.
like,
Because
kids
not every
talk.
kid's going there,
Sure.
but every kid, it
No,
would
and
seem to
they-
me, would want to go there.
They spent a day with the staff in a full day training, and then they created their own regulation stations in each room. So if you want to come for donuts Friday morning with donut day, we could walk you around so you could see some of the station regulations. Every classroom
Yeah.
has one.
Yeah.
Some have teepees, some have a little
They're really
cushion.
cute.
Yeah.
And that's a tier one.
And how
So
do
this
kids
is a tier
respond
two.
when a child goes there? You say the corner, and the corner reminds me of my days in school where
So it's
you were sent to the
positive.
corner and you faced the corner until the teacher told you could come back and join the
No,
class.
it's a little more animated and welcoming,
Yeah.
as Diana says, like whether, a cushion to sit on, a book to read, some other sort of.
Just something to get you out of the mainstream a little
Right,
bit.
so the idea is to make it very positive, we know that we can learn in both ways. Negative reinforcement, positive reinforcement, and of course there's punishment, but if punishment will be ideal, people will come out better from prisons. It doesn't work, but you can always reinforce positive behavior. So we're trying to change the mindset that if you click the next one, please. So, and those are resources. The next one, I just want to show you some of the standards. These are Washington standard. Everything in that room is based on here.
On what? Oh,
On the
okay.
Washington standards. So if you teach students, a young mind, before they go into middle and high school, that they have control in choices of everything you do. It's not longer others punishing you and rewarding you. It's your own behavior. So I just teach students to learn to manage themselves and manage others. So by the time they go to them, they can make better choices.
So Elena, are you doing it, you want to do it at your meeting school?
Yeah, Brittany and Shada, our MTSS coordinator, is doing some similar projects. with small groups, but we haven't done something that a student can just.
Because if they don't learn it there, they're just gonna go up there and then you.
But our discipline specialist is trained in a lot of these, regulation activities, and so she's got like the zones of regulations in her office, and we figure out how to de-escalate.
Do they still do this thing
We don't do that,
in middle school?
but we can tell right away, a middle schooler will tell you right away.
I need a timeout.
They'll tell you way
I
too
have
much.
things in my office that I pull out and like to de-escalate students and just let them chill.
So I had the opportunity to watch Matt and Mabel present the Zoom. Was that a national?
It was the
It was-
National School
okay.
Counselors Association.
And I was not able to go to the Washington School Counselors Association, but I want to tell you that Mabel was nominated, was one of the top 3 counselors in the state. So congratulations.
Congratulations.
And one of the things I found really interesting when other practitioners from around the states asked them questions, one of the questions I think was really critical, and that was, in order for it to work, you have to get buy-in from your staff. Do you have buy-in from your staff? And Matt very eloquently said, for the most part we do, but it requires training and understanding trauma-informed practices, the social-emotional learning standards. It requires a lot of training and a lot of front-loading, because in a lot of ways, we're some of the veteran staff are from the older generation where there's only one answer, and that's punishment, which is no longer the practice and doesn't work for long term. And so, I mean, that's, in my opinion, that's an ongoing training. It's not a one and done, but you have to constantly work at it so people are really understanding the philosophy of it. It's a different philosophical way
So
from
not
the
every
old
school does
standards.
this.
No.
No, but this is the new modern. If you read, I mean, I'm every month with ESD and OSPI trainings, and this is what they want. They want the whole buy-in that we have to empower children by their brain work, right?
Yeah.
It's about teaching children, young mindsets, adults. It is your choice. Adults
Yeah.
don't reward, we do. So I see with a 5-year-old and he's screaming. I say, okay, you let me know when you're done screaming. You and I can talk. Go back. And I'm looking, all right, I'm done screaming. Okay, can I come sit in your office? Yeah, you can, but you cannot be if you're screaming. If a 5-year-old can understand that, why can a middle and a high school when an adult can do it? But if I go and say, you need to stop screaming, he's gonna shout more and he's gonna come and destroy my room. And they do that, so.
And it's not easy, and it's not, and that's not perfect, and it's not foolproof. I mean, we still have you drop by any given day, you'd
Oh,
still
yeah.
see things like, oh boy, okay. Some wellness room we got a little scenario that's well beyond the wellness room.
Yeah.
But I can say again, it's really positively impacted our discipline data overall, certainly the in-school or out-of-school suspension, or even referrals. And then look at our SABRES data. We'll be doing that again in the spring, but winter data, 85% of our kiddos are at tier 1, feel good about school, feel good about themselves. And that's the kind of the model. Those 10 to 15% of kiddos that are gonna have a variety of challenges, be it home base, be it other pieces that are going on in their lives. And that's a lot of the work we have ahead of us. So it's been going on.
You mentioned you got a grant.
Yeah.
Is the one-time grant or something you have to apply for every year?
One-time grant, but I'm always offering. I always bring it to my super great superintendent. A lot of those grants have a lot of paperwork, so time is always a challenge. But I'm also going to be represented school counseling, K to 12 with Washington State. So I'm very excited about that because I'm able to make input as a representative with the board and with our governor or with our politicians to what is important in mental health. That was just given to me last week by OSPI. So I'm very excited because if we can prove that doing things right, that students work, the schools will learn.
That's why the data, we keep all the data.
It's not what I say, it's can I
What you
prove
do.
it?
Show you.
Can I prove it? I'm a researcher. I say what I do what I prove. Yeah.
And then the only other thing that I would say, though, we still can discipline. That doesn't mean that you don't use your discipline matrix and you don't follow through pending on
Good.
I mean, it's
good-
really a separate
Good follow. 'Cause I-
entity.
Yes.
And I think that's
Yes.
where the rub sometimes comes with the difference between practices in a building and what a teacher believes and thinks is, well, that means we can't discipline. No, that doesn't mean that at all. We still follow our discipline procedures
Well,
and
and
practices.
yeah, and this, same thing applies when you get older too. You have diversion programs
Mhm.
from
There
the
has to be
justice system, and it works with some people, but some people it just doesn't work with, and you incarcerate or do whatever, so.
So thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
all your
you.
time and support.
Yeah,
15
thank
minutes.
you.
Thank you both.
Went to 30 minutes.
It was worth it.
It was worth it, yeah.
It was great information.
And thanks,
So
Maybelle,
if
for
you
putting
are
us on the map, huh?
wanting donuts in the morning, come to the elementary
Yeah, Friday
school
morning,
and we can walk
8 a.m.
around and,
We're happy to show you in a good map. I always say good views is always good. I want to put you.
Okay, do you have VIP parking someplace? I've heard there's no parking when you go there. And I don't walk well.
Oh, I was say I park here and walk.
oh, you could park
Oh,
over
give me that
here
little
and
cart.
we could get the cart and drive
Yeah,
over.
there you go.
Mhm.
Or
They
we can
shuttle
do
you
also
over.
VIP parking if you, yeah, we have to do that too.
What time?
8 a.m.
8 a.m.
There can only be two of us.
So if I
Or
got
just
here
go
at
bring
quarter
one.
to 8, I could
back and get
You'd
get
be
the pick of the litter.
You'd be first in line.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
That was.
We get a donut if we go.
You can probably have at least one or two.
All right.
8 o'clock tomorrow.
No,
Friday.
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 You like donuts.
Plus,
I
it's
know.
fun to see the
Unfortunately, I
kids.
like 'em
It
too
really is
well.
fun to see the kids.
Okay, let's move on to new business. We need to approve the Insight School of Washington K through 8, 2024-25 school year calendar. That's for next year. Does anybody want to do that for Myron?
I'll make a motion to approve the Inside School of Washington K through 8, 24, 25
All
school
right,
year.
good. You have some support here, Myron.
I'll second.
Good. Any questions about it or anything you want to say, Myron, about it?
No, the only, just to kind of clarify, the reason we have two calendars is because they have the same start and end dates for the full year, but our K-8 product, our K-8 schools run on a semester basis and the high school runs on a trimester basis. So the differences are that one has only 2 terms, the other one has 3 terms. That's basically the short version of the big differences.
Okay. Any questions from the board? All those in favor of approving ISW's K through 8 school calendar for next year, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say no. Not hearing any, it is approved. Is there a motion to approve the ISW 20 high school 2024-25 calendar?
I'll make a motion we approve the ISWA high school calendar for 24-25.
Thanks. Second,
I'll second it.
questions? All those in favor then of approving ISW's high school calendar for next year, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. You have them. You are approved. Let's move on to old business. First thing up is a approval of our revision of resolution number 10-22/23.
So Jan has been tracking when you approve the budget back in July or August, we approved this because we're moving $500,000 from the debt service fund to capital projects fund for the Part 2 stadium project with the restrooms. And in doing so, she went back to the resolution just to see how much we had committed and realized that she thought it was going to capital projects because that's where we pay for our projects. And that was just an error. And so we need to revise this for the auditors when they come take a look at us next school year. Neither Jan nor I caught that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
I'll make a motion.
go for it.
Approval of revision resolution number 10-22/23.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in, all those who will want to approve this, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Everybody said yes. It is approved. Then revision of board policy 1400, meeting, conduct, order of business, and quorum. That's one of the typos.
Quorum, yeah, and I
Hopefully
changed.
it's not on the, it's okay if it's on the agenda, I think, but,
Yeah, it's not.
okay.
I got you.
So is there a motion to revise policy 1400?
This is pretty much what we went over last week.
Correct. So after going over doing the Open Public Meetings Act, a lot of things changed after COVID in 2022 prior to this school year. They went into effect for 23-24, so we're getting everything up to date.
Sounds good.
I'll make a motion that we adopt policy number 1400.
I'll second it.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say no. None are opposed. It is approved. Number 3, revision of board policy 1410, executive or closed sessions. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion, the revision of board policy 1410, executive or closed sessions.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any questions or considerations? All those in favor then of revising board policy 1410, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say no. It is revised. Oh, wow. Here we go. Revision, is there a motion to revise board policy 1420? Proposed agenda and consent agenda.
I'll make a motion, we revise board policy 1420, proposed agenda and consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any questions? Comments? All righty, then all those in favor of revising policy 1420, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say no. It's revised, it's approved. And of course, what with that was the procedures. Okay. Is there a motion to revise board policy 1430, audience participation?
Which now, by the way, has a new title of communication with guests and district residents. But it talks about the public comment has to be at the beginning.
Yeah,
This one doesn't say anything about the 3-minute rule.
Yeah,
Later, I think it does.
in the 1430, if you look down in the second paragraph, we'll proceed to make comments within a 3-minute period. You see that right in the middle of the paragraph.
yeah, it's added, it's in
Mhm.
red.
Red.
Okay.
And we also can determine as a board how long the comment period would be open. So if we wanted to have 30 minutes of comments, in theory, we would have 10 3-minute blocks.
Mhm.
And we could cut it off even if there are more people that want to speak. So this is good because it's a reminder, especially in light of history, that it is our meeting as a board, and to have people, we want to encourage people to talk, but there have been situations, and not just in our board, but around the country lately, where huge crowds have showed up and it's almost
Unmanageable.
unmanageable, in
Yes.
which case we have the option of doing several things. We can recess, we can clear the room. You know, they're invited here, but they're not entitled to be here unless they're good guests, I guess. So it gives us some options, but the 3-minute thing, I think, is a good thing. And it also helps us to not have to hear the same, one person say the same, make their argument 5 times with different words too, so.
It doesn't say anything in here though about the clear the room, you know.
It might be in the procedures.
You do have a right to do that if it becomes unruly or
Dangerous.
dangerous.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's in the procedures, I believe. Okay. Dokie, then is there a motion to revise board policy 1430?
I'll make a motion to revise policy 1430, communication with guests and district residents.
Thanks. Second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say no. It is approved. Revision, we need a motion to revise board policy 5253, 5253, professional staff, student boundaries.
And I just realized there's no real revision, but it's good practice to review and just approve it again because there are changes in the procedure, in both procedures. There's a procedure 1 and then there's a procedure 2, but reporting violations is a big part of maintaining professional staff student boundaries. We'll be training our staff on their requirements of what they have to do if they believe that there is a staff member crossing boundaries with students.
Which has
Okay.
happened in the past.
It has happened, yes. There's quite a few changes here.
I'll make a motion we adopt policy number 5253.
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say no. None are opposed. It is the revision, or the revision is approved. Revision of board policy 6700, nutrition, health, and physical education.
Okay, and then this one is regarding the compliance that Sherry brought with the CEP and some of the compliance parts for the National School Lunch and School Breakfast programs. And then there's some updates in the procedures regarding health and PE requirements. And I think somewhere in there's a component about recess. Oh yeah, there's the community eligibility provision, the 40% that Sherry was referring to with the free meals, and then the breakfast after the bell component. And then I think somewhere meal times, we have to make sure that students are receiving 20 minutes of seated lunch time, and then scheduling recess before lunch.
Okay.
But anyway, and this is really important because they come in and do, I shouldn't say they, OSPI comes in to do the compliance audit. And I think we're scheduled for one next year, not this year. We had one last summer program. And the first thing they're going to look at is if our board policy is updated. And then they'll look to see if we've implemented the standards in the policy.
It says all students in grades 1 through 8 are required to complete an average of 100 instructional minutes per week.
In PE.
For like an hour and a half.
It's really hard.
That doesn't, I was gonna say, that
It's
doesn't
really hard to
include,
get.
that doesn't include recess.
I think
Is
at the elementary school recess is included in the instructional minutes. I can't remember. But not at the middle school. Do we meet them at the middle school?
The 100 minutes? Yeah, oh
Yeah. We didn't used to, but that's why we have 2 PE teachers. And it's just a challenge. There's just a lot of but I do believe, especially for kids who are kinesthetic learners, that it really does help.
Okay, and it states quite clearly that recess will not be withheld as a punishment.
Correct.
And we've gotten away from that, I hope,
Yes, we have.
completely, and
We have.
good.
We will not go to recess, Mike.
Oh, yeah, they used to hold, I mean,
It's been bad.
my kids miss recess
Yeah.
occasionally.
No,
Made
we
me so mad.
used to do that, but not anymore.
Okay,
Give you a toothbrush.
all righty. Any other questions on that? Is there a motion to approve the revision of board policy 6700?
I'll make a motion for revision of board policy 6700, nutrition, health, and physical education.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thanks. All those in favor of approving revision of board policy 6700, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, say no. It's approved. Now, we have an executive session. How long?
No more than 20 minutes. And so the other piece that I learned from our training last week or 2 weeks ago is that we have to put up on the screen that we're going into executive session. So, and then give the time
Yeah,
when we start. And so if we go beyond
we have to come out and announce it.
one of us is supposed to come out. So Hazel's going to put a little sign up there and we're going to leave the streaming going. We'll go into executive session, then we'll come back out. We'll close the meeting down. We'll formally close it down and then we sign.
So poor Hazel has to stay here for.
She has to stay.
Oh, well, so this is a 20-minute estimate to review public employee performance.
Starting at probably 7:08.
Oh, 7:09. It's going to take me 2 minutes to get there.
Thank you.
We need to get nice chairs. You ever seen the ones there at city council? Oh,
Yeah.
those things, we need
Yeah,
those.
that's what we need. Well, these beat the heck out of what the
And then let me remove this.
There is no action to be taken. We are adjourned.
Yay! Bye, Myron.